Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Friday Night Live. I'm very excited this week. We've got, as we do every week, we've got a very exciting guest with us. So I just want to check before I show you who we've got on and before I show you a little teaser video from this person. I just want to check that those of you who are joining us on Facebook and in YouTube tonight can both hear and see me. So if you are joining me right now, just let me know where you're watching from and what you're watching on. So let me know if you're watching on YouTube and let me know you're watching on Facebook, just so that we know we're ready to go live and ready to start the rock and rolling. So it looks like lots of people are joining us on Facebook. Good evening, Martin. Good to see you, mate. We've got Lucy, Archie, Phoebe, Morgan. Lots of people joining us on Facebook. If you are joining us on YouTube, just drop us a little message and let us know, just so we know that is working as well, because it should be, because this is this new software. Yes, so Tim has joined us on YouTube. So we're ready to start the night. Friday Night Live, as you know, if you join me, every week we get an interesting person on. In the past, we've had some great people. We've had Mark Spellman, otherwise known as Magician X. We've had Maddox. He's a regular now because he's one of our favourites. We've also had, we're hoping to get Magical Bones, hopefully next week, so stick around for that next week. Who else we had? John Courtney, loads of amazing people, and the idea is we just have a casual chat. You can ask us questions, we'll ask you lots of questions, and we just keep each other company while we're stuck indoors in lockdown. But tonight is very exciting because I first saw this person perform probably around, I would say maybe 5 years ago at the Magic Circle headquarters in London, the secret building, and they've got a huge theatre upstairs. It's an amazing place that they open up occasionally for the public to go in and have a little look. And I was very lucky that I watched the show and I took my family along, and this person was on stage and she absolutely rocked. It was amazing. The whole night was made from this one act. It was really funny. We all had a great time. And then a few years later, she did very well on Britain's Got Talent. Now, Britain's Got Talent is probably the most recent thing you've seen her on, but she's done lots of amazing stuff, which we're going to talk to you about in just a few minutes. But first, I want to show you a little clip just to remind you of a couple of the highlights when she first appeared on Britain's Got Talent in, I believe, 2018.
Hi.
Hello.
Do you want to tell us who you are, please?
Mandy Muden.
And where are you from?
London.
All right. Mandy, how old are you?
Let's just say I've seen a few summers and leave it there, Simon. And your number was 777. Was that right, Simon?
Yes.
That says 770.
Oh, maybe I've got that one wrong, but let's move on. Sometimes witches can't be perfect. Now, Amanda,
Yes.
what was the card?
It was the 4 of spades.
The 4 of... Was it?
Yes.
Not the 3?
No, it was a 4.
So we're a spade missing then, everybody. Okay, well, look, here it is.
Absolute comedy gold. So we're going to be joining Mandy now. Here she is. Hey, Mandy.
Hello.
First of all, thank you so much for agreeing to come on. Now, I know I told you briefly before we went live, a number of people have been dying to have you on this Friday Night Live talk. Your name has come up constantly, and I know Martin has joined us tonight. He is one of the people that's been dying to get you on, so thank you so much for coming and agreeing to join us. Firstly, I just want to say a lot of people will obviously remember you from just a couple of years ago on Britain's Got Talent, which you did very well. You did incredible, in fact. But you've done TV throughout your whole career. Is that right? Let me just turn this music down.
Actually,
put it down a bit too loud.
Today, Kevin, do you know Kevin McMahon, who was on he was on BGT this year, and well, last year actually now.
Is that Kevin Quantum?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's how we know him.
Yeah, he did Faking It, and I was one of the judges, and he put a clip on the Magic Circle website, and I was, oh my god, yeah. So it was 16 years ago. I can't believe it was that long ago.
Well, in fact, where's my phone? I saw an interesting clip of something that I don't know how you managed to do it, but you did a TV show a long time ago and with Bradley Walsh. That's right, isn't it, on TV?
Oh God, yeah, that was.
And I don't know how. That was your first TV spot.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how you managed it, but somehow the lovely Mandy convinced Bradley Walsh to be her glamorous assistant, and there he is dressed up in his fancy outfit. Which is, I got no idea how you convinced him to dress up in that, but it was a great spot. I was watching it today. Before I got you on, I thought, I must watch that again. And it's just comedy gold. Absolutely brilliant. Have you always been a magician, though?
No, well, I was an actress for a little while, and then I did kids entertaining, kids parties, and because I was always out of work as an actress because I was a bit crap really, so I always had to I had to sort of finance myself. So I became a kids entertainer, and I always loved magic. So I learnt magic, and I ended up getting really great bookings. I mean, I was so lucky. I did a lot of the royal families from all over the world, including ours. I wrote a book, and that sold worldwide. I couldn't believe it. You know, like when you just think, oh, I'll just write a book, but you know, and it really did sell. And so I made this great career. And also, what's great about doing magic for kids is kids are so brutally honest. Because people always
tell me about it.
Know people that do kids entertaining, and I always think, for one, you can make amazing money, and two, I mean, they're the best audience because they're brutal. I mean, you know, if they see something, they go, "It's in your hand," it's in. You're like, "Shut up," but you know that you're doing so. But so I used to work stuff up in my kids act for my adult shows because they were so helpful. And actually, I wasn't ever planning to be a magician or do comedy or anything. And there was a woman who she was a writer, quite a well-known writer, and she kept saying, I kept doing parties. She had about 4 or 5 kids, and she kept saying to me, "You should be doing this for adults." And I said, "I just wouldn't know what to do." And she said, "I'm just going to book you. Why don't you come and do it? I'll give you 150 quid. Come and do my." And I went and did her party, and it was great. And I didn't even have any decent magic. I was just doing rubbish really. But from that moment on, things just turned, and I thought, oh my God, I love this. So that was the turning point.
Well, you've done a lot on cruises as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I've done loads on cruises actually. I've been doing cruises for about 15 years, which has been great. But
well,
I mean, it's been quite hard work though.
I was going to say, have you got any planned other cruises? I assume the cruises will be coming back soon, right? Are you? I assume your ambition as soon as lockdown's over is to get out into the Mediterranean or somewhere, the Bahamas on a cruise ship. That sounds good.
No, actually, it's not. On Sunday, I start training to be a wedding celebrant, and
okay,
yeah, and so I want to do weddings. Really, I'm good and put magic into them, and you know, so in the ceremony and start putting stuff in, and so
that sounds like a great idea.
And also, I realised during the cruises, I was away all the time. I didn't see my family. I really rarely saw my friends. So I am going to kind of calm down a bit on the cruising. And work home.
Fair enough.
So, yeah.
Fair enough. I just want to tell everyone who's watching, if you got any questions for me or Mandy, drop them in the questions tab, and I'm going to keep an eye on those, and we'll add them on as we go. In fact, I think Tim's got one here. Here we go. Let's just see if I can bring it up. Here we go. A cruise field full of all the BGT contestants and winners. That would be a great cruise. I would love to do more cruises, mainly just for the cruise part of it. I mean, I love that some of them have got amazing theatres on. I'd love to do those as well, but there's nothing more peaceful than being out in the middle of the ocean. That's what I found.
Yeah, have you done cruising?
I've only done, I think I've done 4 that were all last minute ones, and I was just lucky that they had a slot for me and they got me on, and I got a little bit of a holiday out of it each time, which was nice. But the good thing about cruises so far that I mean, out of the 4 that I've done, I mean, I don't know if they're all like this, but it seems to be just the perfect audience because one, everyone's on holiday, everyone's having a great time, and also if they hate you, they've got nothing else to do anyway. That you are there, it seems like the perfect crowd.
Well, it is and it isn't, because like if they hate you, I mean, it is. But like when I first started doing cruises, I started doing them as a comedian and doing them on. So they put this package of comedians from the comedy circuit on, and I remember that one guy, he really died a lot, and like we had to do 3 or 4 shows, like 20-minute shows over the cruise, and he died a lot. And he was getting heckled in the swimming pool. Anyway, literally, he was getting paranoid, like he's swimming. "You're rubbish, mate."
Yeah, I suppose you're locked on the cruise for another few days after every show, aren't you? Yeah. So if they hate you, yeah, that must be tough actually. But something I always think is for comedians especially, the cruises must be tough because of the difference in people's perception of comedy from all around the world. Obviously, it's a big mix on a cruise ship, but I assume your kind of comedy works for everyone. Is that true?
It doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, I did a cruise for South Americans, and none of them spoke English, and so they just had no idea what was going on. And we were down in like Brazil or somewhere, and they were just all staring at me, and I'm doing all these tricks, and everything's going wrong, and they're just they're just like looking in absolute horror, and and the cruise director made me go on and do a second show, and it's awful, because I mean, when it goes wrong on a cruise ship, it goes really wrong. If they don't like you, I mean, they really don't like you. I remember doing a cruise, and it was all these Americans, and they were on a world cruise, and world cruises are notorious because basically they're on a world cruise for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, right? So they see everybody, and they hear all these jokes. And they're so sick of entertainment. They start first of all, they start picking on the staff, then they start picking on each other, and then fights just break out. So they're all, by the end of it, if you come on the end of a world cruise, they're really going for the axe, So I picked up this cruise in like Iceland, and it was like Iceland to Scotland, and they were so horrible, right? I died on my arse, right? There's no other way to say it. And I remember I had an agent at the time who sadly has just died, Jenny Dunster. She just died 2 days ago. She used to be mine and Faye's agent. She's Laura London's agent now, and she used to say to me, whatever happens, however bad it is, do your time, right? So I'm limping through this act, and people are there's just the deaf and disabled left, right? The only people that can't get out, and so and then I'm stuck on the ship for another week, and we get into Scotland, and I said, look, can I get off? Because I didn't have to do another show, because they said we can't put you on again because you were terrible, and I'm like, oh. And so they said, and I said, can I get off? And they said, no, you can't because there's no customs. So luckily it was this really sort of dour Scots bloke. And I said to him, look, I'm going to get a walking stick in my back if I stay on this ship. And he said, if you get off and I don't see you, that's fine. He said, just don't let me see you because you're breaking the law. And I've never run so fast in my bloody life. I'm just running down the, and I got out of there, and I went to a friend's in Edinburgh. I got him to pick me up, and I think we downed a bottle of gin. It was horrendous. So when it goes wrong, it really goes wrong, and you're in the middle of an ocean with a load of people that bloody hate you.
So that sounds like a top tip. If you're going to do a world cruise as an entertainer, you need to be on the first week then, no doubt.
Yeah. Certainly don't take the end of it, because it's hell.
Awesome. We've got a question here from Kerry. Good evening, Kerry. So Kerry says, have you ever done a pantomime, and who did you play?
Yeah, I did. I've done several pantos, and actually I did one. I was supposed to do one this Christmas in. I was supposed to be. Oh God, what were we doing now? Because we changed. Actually, we were doing Jack and the Beanstalk, and I was the Wicked Witch. And then we couldn't do it because of lockdown. And then the year before, I was at the Grand Opera House in Belfast, and I was doing Beauty and the Beast, and I was Magic Mandy.
Oh, nice.
And the year before, I did High Wycombe, and I played the genie a couple of times, and I played the fairy godmother. And in the genie, in High Wycombe, I was Snow White. I was the magic mirror, and I'm terrified of heights, and I had to fly from the gods. It's a very high theatre, and I had to fly down. And when we did the rehearsal, the technicians put me up there, and I said, look, for God's sake, don't leave me up there too long, because I'm really scared. I mean, because the wires are really thin, and I was a lot fatter then, and I thought, God, I'm quite a unit here. It's these little things are going to snap. Anyway, they put me up in the gods, and then they started having a row, and the row went on for 15 minutes, right? So I started off going, right, calm down. I was like deep breathing, doing all the things you're supposed to do, and reading the back of scenery. And anyway, they brought me down, and I literally fell out. My legs were jelly, and I said, I'm going to need a minute. And I thought I wasn't, anyway, I did it every night. And what was ridiculous was that it was such a huge thing for me to do because it was so high. But they used to put so much smoke that nobody realized that they just saw me when I hit the ground. So I was doing all this like on Valium every night.
Unnecessary.
And no one was seeing what I was doing. Yeah.
So when you were Magic Mandy, was that a character that they'd just kind of mashed together just to get you on the stage, or was that actual?
Yeah, they did. They sort of crowbarred me in, and so I was like Beauty and the Beast. So they put me in as Magic Mandy, like one of the sort of servants of the palace,
That's what. So I did it once in Swansea Grand, I was Merlin in Sleeping Beauty. So yet again, it was kind of a hash job. Like, it made no sense to the storyline, and they just brought me on every now and again just to do a bit of magic, and it made no sense, but it was good fun. I would love to do it again.
Yeah, it is kind of mad when there's no sense to it because they're thinking, well, who is it? It is a bit kind of.
Yeah, it kind of made the best crowds ever are the panto crowds, and especially so something I didn't realise until I'd done it. I'd always gone to see the pantomime every year as a kid, but until I actually did it, I never knew that on the last night. I'm not sure if every company does this, but on the final night of the run, everyone kind of plays tricks on each other. They try and stitch each other up. And I didn't know that until, I got out there and bloody everything was going wrong. And there was one scene, it would be difficult to even explain this in a funny way. It's probably one of the things you have to be there. But I was doing a trick where it was me and my glamorous assistant, and the other side of the stage was the mother of Muddles or something, and Muddles doing like a silly version. I was teaching them a trick, so I'd do a trick and it would work really well, and then the idea is that they'd try and copy me and it would go really badly. Basic concepts as that. But every night there would be this moment where my assistant would do this fancy dance and then pass me an object, and then Muddles' mum would try to do a sexy dance. It would be funny music going on, and then when they passed the object, there'd be a fart noise come over the tannoy, and it'd be funny because it was perfectly timed and whatever. But on the final night, and bear in mind, I didn't know that people play tricks on each other on the final night. On the final night, I walk out, and we've done it 100 times, and I'm about to do this trick, and my glamorous assistant does this really sexy dance. She comes over and gives me something, and as she leans over to pass me something, the sound desk cue this fart noise. And I kid you not, I was in absolute hysterics. I was in bits. For about 5-6 minutes, it was me, and in fact, Muddles was Matt Edwards, who I know you probably know very well.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, we were in bits. Like, we were on the floor, just sat wetting ourselves, and the entire audience was just absolutely, because I just couldn't talk, I couldn't do anything for 5 minutes. I was so shocked.
I think there's just nothing better when you really, because sometimes people do kind of cod laughter in it. You can always tell, but when it's like for real, there's kind of nothing better, is there? I mean,
No.
So I in High Wycombe, I was doing a trick where I do a flash and a rubber chicken would come down, and it was just a stupid running gag I had. But what they did was on the last night, they rigged up like 20 rubber chickens. So literally all these rubber chickens came down on me. And another time, I actually, I've got a mate who won America's Got Talent, Paul Zerdin. And,
yes, yeah.
And I met him because years and years ago we were doing panto in Dubai, and this was before Dubai was really built up, and it was the tallest building was the World Trade Center that was like 30 floors, and we were doing panto in there, and there was a couple of boy dancers, real scousers in the we had a pantomime camel. And on the last night, I went to stroke the camel, and the bloody camel went for me, and it was so none of us could stop. I couldn't even finish the scene because we were laughing so much, because it was like this supposed to be this moving moment where I stroke the camel and say, Cinderella, you will go to the ball, and I went to like this, and it went
Absolutely brilliant. I can't imagine them watching pantomimes in Dubai. Is it, or was it for? I thought pantomime was mainly like a British thing that no one else in the world kind of understood.
Well, we thought that it would be all like expats that came, and it was all the Arabs came. It was unbelievable.
Oh, wow.
And sitting there with boo hands on and flashing things. And actually, what was funny one night was that there was like a blacked out. It seated about 2,000 people, this venue, and there was a sort of blacked out row in the middle, right? And I was thinking, God, that's mad. They didn't sell those seats, but they sold them all around. And it was a line of women in burqas, but because they were all in burqas and all blacked out, it just looked like there was nobody sitting on those seats. It was really funny.
Right, okay.
I went down into the audience. Oh, it's a crowd of women, you know. But it just looked like there was no seats.
I've got another question for you. So Chris says, do you have any shows planned? So I know obviously we've been in lockdown, but you are doing virtual shows, aren't you? Are you doing public shows, or is it mainly just corporate stuff at the minute?
No, I mean they're mainly kind of corporate-y type shows, and sort of, yeah. So I'm not really doing any public ones at the moment, but but I hope to soon. I mean, we're all. I mean, I am taking bookings for comedy clubs and stuff at the from kind of like June on, but we don't know whether that'll happen or not. But hopefully, fingers crossed.
Well, it's good to know they're booking. That's a great sign.
Yeah,
we've got the so Samantha is watching from Canada, and she's asked,
oh my God,
did you have an interest in magic since childhood?
Yeah, I mean, my mum was my mum was a dancer, and she was in a group called the Tiller Girls. I mean, you're way too young to know about them. They used to be the
I'm
main
definitely going to look them up though.
Oh, they're legendary. I think the troupe ran for about 100 years, and they were always to stand in a line and kick their legs in the air, and like they'd be perfectly in unison, and they do they do like wheels. I think they call them cartwheels, and they'd all like kick round. And it's like Busby Berkeley. Do you know Busby Berkeley, the movies? But they were very famous at the Palladium, and so at the Palladium it was always the Tiller Girls, and it was a lineup of like, I don't know, sort of 15, 20 girls, and they'd all be in a line, and they were a very elite troupe of dancers, and my mum was one of them. And anyway, so she did panto with Ali Bongo. And so when I was about 3, and my mum used to take me and my brother along, and then my mum became principal dancer in the panto. And so she did a whole sort of routine where she'd get a guy out of the audience and put a mask on him and do a whole bullfighting thing. And she used to come out and sing a number as well. And apparently, I can't remember this, but I got under her dress when she was singing, and it was quite a serious song, and started peeping at the audience and waving and stuff. So I wasn't allowed to go anymore. But that's how. So I used to watch about Ali Bongo when I was 3 in the wings, and that's how I developed this love for magic. But I used to get on his nerves because I used to just be asking him stuff all the.
We've got so Derek says he's old enough to remember them.
So. Well done, Derek.
So Loella says, what's been your favourite cruise and where did you go? That's a good question. If you're going to go on a cruise, where would you recommend people go?
Well, it sounds like
and who with as well, because I've heard there's some great cruises and there's some not so great cruises. We need some hot tips.
Well, I mean, I've been really fortunate that I've worked on a lot of like quite posh cruise lines, so they're quite boutique and quite small, which is I quite like. Also, I've worked on the big ones, which is also lovely because also you get on the bigger ones, you're always working with other performers, which is really nice. So you've always got someone to hang out with and compare notes, and even if you're dying, there's like 4 acts at the back going, way.
Yeah.
And and the acts are usually very, very supportive on ships, as you probably found out. The best place I've ever been to is Antarctica, and I've been there I think 4 or 5 times now, and it's been unbelievable. I remember the first time I went down there, and they said, "Oh, tomorrow we'll be going through Iceberg Alley, and there'll be loads of icebergs." And I'm thinking, I'm just an old cockney, and I was thinking, yeah, Iceberg Alley. And I remember in the morning I was all on my own, and I opened the curtains, and there was this iceberg covered in penguins, and I just screamed my head off. I was so excited, and there's just something amazing about being there because it's just so unreal. It's just this beautiful landscape with nothing, just wildlife and loveliness. And also Alaska is incredible. I flew into a really tiny airport and arrived, and they forgot to send someone to pick me up because they always send a driver, and I was suddenly, how it is in these little tiny airports. It was like quiet. It was about 8 o'clock at night or something, and everybody started to go. And then this taxi driver came up and he said, "Look, I don't know where you're going, but I'm going to take you because if you stay here, the bears are going to come down soon, and they're grizzlies, and they come down at this time of year to here." So and I was like, "Oh my God, that was amazing." And also I loved Havana, Cuba. I don't know what it's like now, but because I went there about 10 years ago, and I really loved that because it was incredible. Just there was no advertising, so you weren't how we're sort of being bombarded all the time with adverts and things, all these amazing buildings. I can remember actually going into to a cigar factory, right? And you know how we're all so anal about health and safety, right? So there's thousands of tobacco leaves all piled on one on top of another, right? And all these people rolling up these big Cuban cigars and everything, but all of them were sat there with a fag on, and the building was all wood, and you just think like one of those fags, the whole thing was going to go up like a tinderbox, but nobody was bothered, they were all sitting there,
Yeah. We've got a question from Henry White. Good evening, Henry. Good to see you. He said, "What's your favourite memories from the BGT semi-finals?"
Henry White.
So was Henry part of your team? Is that right?
Yes, it was an amazing.
Okay.
He was my absolute knight in shining armour, and Henry is an absolute magical genius and a comic, and God, he was so wonderful. And my favourite moment, and I don't know if I can repeat this because it's so funny, right. And I hope Henry doesn't mind me. Henry, you must know the story I'm going to tell, because it was the funniest thing ever. Henry suffers from mild Tourette's, right? And it only comes out when he's a bit nervous, So we were, it just makes me laugh to think about it, and it's really rude, and I hope you don't mind me saying it. Sorry.
The fact that he asked means he knows you're going to tell this story, no doubt.
So as you know, that there's a therapist that goes around BGT, I don't know when you were doing it, and because a lot of people sort of go a kind of, because it's very pressured, and, and so anyway, they had this lovely sort of serene therapist going around sort of saying to everybody, you're all right and everything. And I was sharing a dressing room with a sort of girl that was very living on the edge, let's say, with her nerves, and probably shouldn't have been on the, I don't know, but she was quite crazy. And she used to sing opera and eat food, right? But then in the middle of the show, so she had this meltdown. So we all the paramedics came in and they had to, give her drugs and whatever. And she went really mad. And so, and then with me, I had obviously Henry was with me, and I had Michael Jackson with me, who was, it was his last time of being Michael Jackson, which was amazing because he was on BGT with me.
Oh, you mean sorry.
Yeah, he wanted to go around cleansing everybody's auras. So every 5 minutes he was trying to cleanse my aura. And they were going, look, they were saying, look, we're running to time. Can we just get Mandy on, And then I had my body double, and because they sent me this beautiful boy dancer, and I said, it's supposed to be a body double. Look at, they could spot the deliberate mistake here, Anyway, he was the first tango man. So every time he met somebody, he kept going, I'm the first tango man, I'm the first tango man. So there was we were a sort of crowd of lunatics, really, all of us, because I was just like off my head. So anyway, I got knocked out. And Henry was like more nervous than me, because like he'd worked so hard with me, and it's so like he was so invested in everything, right? So so his Tourette's was sort of starting to come out a bit stronger than normal. So we're all in so anyway, I get knocked out, and you go back to the you didn't get knocked out, so you won't know about this. You literally get knocked out. There's someone with a clipboard who says, do you want to just get your coat, and off you go. So we go back, and the door open, and there's a knock at the door, and I'm going to say a really rude word, and please forgive me. So the door opens, and she goes, "Oh, Mandy, are you okay?" Sorry, I'm laughing at what happened. My eyes are watering, and I'm really sorry about this, everybody. And she said, "Oh, Mandy, are you okay?" And it was all quite patronising and sincere. And at that point, Henry's Tourette's kicked in, and he went, "Cunt!" And I was laughing so hard. I'm so sorry to say that, and I couldn't speak. And she didn't realise it was Tourette's, and she thought he was calling her a cunt. And I said, and after about 5 minutes, I got the power of speech back, and I said, "I'm so sorry, Henry's got mild Tourette's." And she went, "Oh," and she left, and I went in disgust. And Faye Presto said to me, "Oh my God, tomorrow that you got knocked out, you're going to wake up feeling really depressed." And I woke up, and the first thing I heard was Henry saying that, and I couldn't stop laughing. I mean, it was just the best moment out of the whole show. And,
Brilliant. Well, I hope he's still with us. I haven't seen him comment yet, so I'm hoping he's still with us to hear that story. Awesome. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely
sorry
brilliant.
to say that word, everybody.
What's the time? It's past, what is it supposed to be? Oh, past 6:30, is it? You can say whatever you want on the air.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
pretty sure that doesn't work with Facebook, but I'm sure they won't hear that. Right, let's see. We've got a few questions coming for us during that. I love that story. There is so high pressured behind the scenes that anything that can make you laugh is so important. Yeah, that is good. It's important to have good people with you when you're backstage or something like that.
Do you know what? Henry was amazing, because I was going to get David Walliams out, and I was going to cuddle him and not let go. And Henry said to Henry, we were standing at the back of the auditorium, and Henry just said to me, "You can't do that." And I was saying, "Why?" And he said, "He's got a bad back." And I said, "How do you know that?" And he said, "He's got an orthopedic chair." Now, I wouldn't even think to look at that.
Oh.
So I went up to the producers and I said, "Look, does David have a bad back?" And they said, "We don't know." And they didn't know. And then they radioed round, and David had a bad back. If Henry hadn't picked that up, I mean, Henry was unbelievable. He directed me. I mean, he calmed me down. He came up with brilliant ideas. He came up with great gags. I mean, he's just fantastic.
Yeah. Well, the only thing is something that would have been. I mean, if you had broken his back, you would have made headlines around the world instantly. It's moments like that you would get every newspaper in the world straight away. So Henry's just put a comment saying he sent me a picture that he recommends showing. Oh, look at this! Brilliant. Well done, Henry. Absolutely love it. So this is Mandy's body double for. That was for the semi-finals. There he is. So those of you who've got no idea what we're talking about, so the start of Mandy's act, you're probably better explaining it than myself. But it was a great comedy moment. I wonder if I can get a video up.
It went wrong because I think he kind of got stage fright, because what happened was he was supposed to fall off the stage, and then I was supposed to appear in a puff of smoke and say. And he was supposed to say, "Was that all right, Mandy?" And I was supposed to say, "Yeah, but the dress looks better on you," right? And then he was supposed to pull the wig off and walk out. Right. So it was obvious it was a gag. Right. But he fell on the crash mat and then just couldn't. He didn't speak, and so I just carried on. And it was in the papers the next day that my act had gone wrong. But the fact is that he just didn't say his line. So I just.
Oh, right. So you ruined the gag.
Yeah.
Well, I've just found it on my phone. Let me see if I can hold this up and show everyone.
Yeah, so it's a shame it went a bit wrong.
So this is the walking on to the semi-final. Straight off the stage. And then you appear the other side. Absolutely brilliant. It was still hilarious. I mean, the papers, the people who write the stories have no idea what they're on about quite often.
Well, no, because there was a camera that was positioned to film him getting up. So they showed him like lying on the floor, pulling his wig off. So... it looked as though the trick had gone wrong, so it genuinely live. There was nothing anyone could do, so they couldn't sort of save it.
That's the tricky thing about live is you you can never rely on bloody anything. It's a bit of a nightmare sometimes. Yeah. Steph says, what have you been doing to keep yourself busy during lockdown? Have you been learning any new tricks, or have you not bothered? Because without knowing the shows are coming back, it's a bit, the motivation's not necessarily high, is it? How have you found it?
Yeah, actually, I have been learning new tricks, and
Okay.
I've been trying to write material, but it is really hard actually as well, because the way that I normally write is I normally kind of get something half right, we'll work on something, and then I usually put it in the middle of all my kind of tried and tested material. And then also usually by the audience's reaction, and sometimes someone from the audience will say something so brilliant, you think, I'm having that, I'm putting that in, and you get some really good feedback and lines, and obviously not working regularly, it is hard to actually hone new material. It's not easy.
Yeah.
But I have been working stuff, and actually as soon as lockdown gets over, I'm going to try and get Henry to come around and help me. Yeah. So brace yourself, awesome. Henry.
He's here. He's booked. John Courtney's just joined us. John won. The year just gone. So was it the year just gone?
Oh yeah, well done, John.
Yeah, it was the year just gone. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
So John was incredible. He came on to have a chat with me on Friday Night Live, I think about 3 weeks ago. And he'd just written a new song about the British Legion, and it was incredible. He treated us to a new song. So thanks for joining us. I appreciate it, John.
He did brilliantly on that. He was great. So, really enjoyed
his finale. His final was just always going to win. It was just such a. It was one of those things that was just perfectly timed. It was to do with the pandemic and how we'd all stick together. It was really, really incredible. So I hope that is the real John Courtney. I've got no idea. That might, it could potentially be a fake account. I'm not sure. But we've featured it. We've featured it anyway. I hope that's the real John. I don't remember that being his screen picture, but
there's no kids. Is there kids watching, by the way? Because I've already sworn.
There probably is, but I'm sure they'll be fine.
Because I've got a story about John Courtney, because I've only met him once, and we followed each other on a cruise ship. I hope there's no kids. And so anyway, I always, whenever I think of John Courtney, or like obviously seeing John Courtney on BGT, I'm always reminded of this story, because I think he went on the week after me. And so basically I got booked for a swingers cruise, and I didn't know, nobody told me, right? So I get on the ship in Rome, and I'm queuing up with all the guests, and normally the guests are sort of these sweet old ladies with nice perms and families and all of this, and there's all these very sort of sexily dressed people, and people with not many clothes on, and I'm in a little pair of Marks and Spencer's trousers and a little top, thinking I've got out my game here. And so anyway, they suddenly asked me to sign a waiver, which normally you get your contract 245s. Anyway, the waiver said that I wouldn't have grown-up games around the pool, if you know what I'm saying, and I wouldn't. I'm just trying to not say things too. So there's a whole list of things that you couldn't do. So I thought, well, this is a lot different to 245s. I won't say what the things were in case there is kids watching. So then I go up on deck to phone home, and everyone's stark naked, right? And they've given me my ship's card, and there's just a big bare bottom on it. And we're in the Med, we're going to all these sort of Catholic countries like, Italy and stuff. And I'm thinking, I really don't fancy going through, ship security, showing them a bare bottom, because it's like,
that's true.
These people. And so, and then I went to look at the ship's photographs, and it was like readers' wives. And so I went down to the cruise director, and I said, is there something that you need to tell me? And he said, didn't anyone tell you? Anyway, so that's what I always think, because John Courtney went on the week afterwards. So I always think about that. But
what were they like as a crowd for the shows? Were they a good crowd or a terrible crowd?
I mean, there's a real story there, and I really can't tell it. I can tell part of it. They end up, nobody was obviously going to the shows because they were a little busy, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so they said to me in the end, they said, look, can you just do like 15 minutes before they have a lecture? And the lecture was on something very special, right? Let's just leave it
Right,
there.
no doubt. Yeah.
And so anyway, I go out and I usually say, you know, when I'm warming up the crowd, I normally say, put your arms in the air, take them out to the sides, and very. I say some. Well, actually, what I say is quite rude, you know, because they said do your comedy club set, and they all started sort of playing with each other, and so. And I had to eventually, after about 5 minutes of waiting for them all to stop, I had to sort of say, can you all just stop a minute? The lecture's going to be on in a minute. Let me just do a couple of tricks for you and I'll go. And I've never, sorry, I didn't mean to be talking about stuff like this, but that's like, every time I see John Courtney's name, and I just didn't ever think that I would be in that. Sometimes when you're performing, Faye Preston always said this to me, that you always, well, there's days when you stand outside your body and look in. And that was one of those days. And I was standing there thinking, what the hell am I doing? You know, and I'm surrounded by these mostly naked people trying to do magic tricks that nobody was interested in.
Oh my God.
And then I didn't want to hand me cards out to get a card selected because I didn't know I knew where the hands had been. I didn't want to touch me cards.
Yeah. I think we're going to have to get John Courtney back on now just to see if he's got any stories of that same cruise. No doubt he has. Yeah. Martin owns Magic Seats, a review channel that he's reviewed me a few times, and he's a great guy. And he's asked if you're doing another solo tour like in 2019.
Well, firstly, happy birthday, Martin, for a few weeks ago. I just don't know really. I mean, I haven't got any plans.
I've always got that on cue just in case. There's always someone's birthday here. Go on, carry on. Sorry.
I haven't really got any plans at the moment. I'm just because I suppose we don't know what's going to happen, really. You know.
Yeah.
So I don't have any plans, but I would love to because I really enjoyed it actually, and it was I did it all on my own. I didn't have a stage manager. I just drove around the country in my car on my own. And when I look at my mates who do solo tours, they've got stage managers and riggers and all sorts of things. And it was just me and me Fiat 500 driving around.
Well, that's the best way to do it. If you can do it like that, you save a fortune on expenditures. That'd be great. So John has said it is the real him. So I'm sure that's what a fake John would also say. But I reckon we should trust him. And it says, here we go. So... glad I wasn't still doing magic with 5 other magicians in the final. So I didn't realise John also does. Well, he used to do magic. Well, I think he still does.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know if you know. Wow. Yeah, so that was something he said when I got him on. I had no idea just how similar we both were. So we're both pianists. Obviously, he's way more successful than me at singing and piano, but he's also a magician. And the day before I got him on, I'd just put a video of me playing the piano out on social media. He was telling me all about the times he's been to the Blackpool Magic Convention. And,
oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I think he told me, I'm sure it was himself, he went to a naval academy, like a Navy school. I can't remember where it was, but the weird thing is just after that, my mum was watching the live, as she always does, and she called me and said, that was the school that my uncle went to. It's like a Royal Navy school. So loads of things in common, which was...
that's really great.
So,
wow.
Yeah. He used to do magic on stage, as part of his act, and then just gradually he progressed over to the piano. He started doing more singing and piano,
wow,
just as he was going.
You learn something new every day.
Yeah, very, very interesting, yeah.
But, I mean, it was kind of crazy. There was a lot of magicians in the final.
Yeah. Well, every year there's more and more. I reckon.
Yeah.
Next year I reckon it'll be 10 magicians in the final. No doubt it's going that way. It's more and more.
Well, do you know,
every
actually,
year.
it's really interesting because I worked for a couple of months this year on the casting with BGT. I worked as a scout.
Okay.
Because obviously lockdown happened, and I saw they were looking for casting directors. So I called Barney, who's one of the execs, and asked him if I could. And he gave me a job for 2 months. And I must admit, I really appreciate what they do because, I mean, it's really hard to find the right act for the show. It's so difficult, because there's so many elements that you need, and I was thinking, how the hell did I bloody well get on, because there, you do need, there's so many sort of elements to the show, and I mean, obviously, it's such a huge machine, and and as you know, the people that work on the show are absolutely wonderful. I mean, they're so supportive and so amazing, and I mean, I loved it. I loved doing that show.
They never sleep, the BGT team. They're just always smiling. I'm sure in the probably the tiny moments that they have when no one's looking, I'm sure they must have a meltdown, because the amount of work they have to do is unbelievable. But yeah, they're always very helpful, which is great.
Yeah, and they don't ever seem to be moody, and
I worked on an Italian TV show. Well, I say I worked. It was a similar style show to BGT in Italy, and the stress, like the BGT, I realised just how amazing BGT is run. I already knew it was, but how much when I did this Italian show, because the way the Italian teams worked was they do as bare minimum as they can all day until 10 minutes before the show. They suddenly realise that nothing's been done, and they suddenly panic, and then it is all hell. It was the most stressful environment I've ever been in. Because they were not as proactive as BGT. It was still a great show, great people, but my God, they put themselves in a lot of stress last minute over there. Yeah.
Wow, God!
In fact, I think you've done an Italian TV show. I can't remember what it's called. It's 2CQ Valves, something like that.
I did one in Romania, of all places.
Okay.
They do this Romanian comedy show. And there's no comedians in Romania, right? I think there was one bloke who was a judge, who's got no sense of humour, right? So he's the top comedian, and they have these three judges. One's sort of like a Romanian Kylie, and then they've got like a sort of Romanian Eminem, type rap artist.
Okay. Right.
And then they have all these. It's all comedy, but nobody. They said to me, we have no comedians in the country, and so it was quite interesting sort of watching everybody, because they had no idea about comedy. It was really interesting. So I went and did that, and nobody really spoke English brilliantly. So that was quite a weird show to do.
That must have been a tough crowd. Was it a live audience?
It was a really tough crowd. I died on my arse. Yeah, it was hilarious.
Awesome. So Samantha says, there's two Samanthas here. If not me, I still hope you're... Oh, hey, Samantha, good to see it. This is two Samanthas. Join us. Didn't know you wrote a book. That was the question I was going to ask you. When you said earlier that you'd wrote a book, I was going to ask you what the book was called, because you said it sold all the way around the world. What's it called, and where can we get it?
It's called it was on kids' parties, and basically because I ended up by total accident doing all these very rich people's parties, and as I said, like royal families and famous people and all sorts, and so I thought, well, I'll write a book for people that don't have the money to get an entertainer in. So it was called Stress-Free Children's Parties, and I only wrote it because I was going to like this evening class, and just an English sort of evening class, and we had 1 week we had to write synopsis for a book, and the teacher said, "Oh my God, you could sell that." So I wrote to one publisher, and they just took it, and I couldn't believe it. Literally, I got a phone call, and I went in. And I was sat with the board, and they just said, "Oh, we're going to sell it," and it's sold all over the world. I mean, it's about 20 years ago now, but I think you can still get it on like eBay and Amazon and stuff. But if not, I've got loads of them somewhere.
It's a catchy title. That's like a clickbait title. Stress-free kids party sounds like it's a real thing.
And so I mean, I did like plans for parties and games and things like that, so there's no magic or anything in it, but well, I reckon we've got time for one more question, and it's going to be from the lovely Phoebe, who has asked, have you read Harry Potter, and if so, which house would you be in, Gryffindor or Slytherin, or one of the middle ones? I reckon I'd be in like a Hufflepuff, one of the average middle ones that no one even knows about. What are you going for? Well, that's a hard one, because I think I'd like to think I'd be in Gryffindor, and I'd be sort of an aged Hermione Granger. But you know, I'm quite a naughty girl, so I'd probably be in Slytherin.
I had a feeling you were going to end up there. Wait, one more question. We've got one more question because this is a good one. It's from Lee Cox, and he said, where's the all-time favourite place that you've performed? That's a good one to end on, so we'll use that. Where would you say? Where did you do your first audition? Was that the Palladium?
No,
The
it was at the
Britain's Got
Lab in
Talent?
Manchester. And actually, for me, I think doing the Apollo with BGT was amazing. So I reckon that's pretty much up there.
That's
And then
absolutely
also,
huge.
yeah, and off the back of BGT, I did a show in America at the Universal Studios, and so I was standing
Wow.
in Universal Studios surrounded by all, and they were filming films and TV shows around me, and I had a crew of about 50 people around me in Universal Studios, and you know, like sometimes you just have to catch your breath because I could not believe I was there. So
Wow.
that was something that was amazing. So.
Absolutely. That's somewhere I really want to get to in not long after lockdown. I love the vibes in those kind of places.
Oh, I
You
mean,
miss
I
that.
loved it. I mean, I was lucky. I was out there for a month. I went to the Magic Castle, and you know, I've performed at the Magic Castle, I think 3 times. I can't even remember
Oh,
actually.
have you? Oh, wow.
So I've been really lucky. But
I've
yeah,
not
I
been
mean,
yet. It's on my bucket list.
but
You have
yeah,
to
well,
know someone who knows someone who knows someone else, don't you, to get in? I've
oh,
heard.
there'll always be someone in the Magic Circle that knows someone that will send an email. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting over
But
there.
actually, talking about Harry Potter, and I'm going to name drop unmercifully here. One of the times when I was doing the Magic Castle, Warwick Davis, you know, he was in Harry Potter. He was one of the God, what are they called? Do you know who Warwick Davis is? He's a very, he's a
Yeah,
little
the name
person.
rings a bell. I do know who he is, but I can't picture him for some reason.
And he, you know, so in the Grindlet's Bank and the little
Oh,
people that are in
yes.
the
Yeah. Oh, lovely guy. Yeah, I've met him a couple of times.
yeah.
Sorry, I
And
just couldn't picture him for a
does.
second.
I mean, he did. There was Small Talk. He did. He's been in loads of films and things. And he
Yeah.
was out there. He's a really good friend of a friend, and so he phoned me up and said, "Oh, I hear you at the Magic Castle. I'd love to come, but he's a little person, right?" And his father-in-law was with him, who was also his agent at the time, who was also a little person. But they were out there and they were filming the Tenable bloke. Well done, Jade. And so and they were so he was out there, I think, to get an award for or something to do with Harry Potter, or they were filming it or something. So they turn up. I put their name on the door at the Magic Castle, but there's a dress code, and they're so strict about this bloody dress code. And because they were little people, they didn't have, because they normally have spare jackets and ties for the guest. But because he was a little person and his father-in-law, they wouldn't let them in. So they turned them away.
No.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a tough dress
My Harry
code.
Potter story.
Yeah. Oh, gutted. Oh,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, he's a really nice guy. I bumped into him. I did a show with Chris Cox a few years ago. I think Chris is good friends with
wow.
him. So, yeah, and interesting. Just because the topic of this live, I mean, we should retitle it because the topic mainly that we've discussed today is about naked people and Harry Potter. So just to close the night, I've got a story that combines both Harry Potter and naked people. It's only a quick one.
Great.
But when I did so it was the Noel Coward Theatre in 2016. I did a show there. That was a show I did with Chris Cox. It was called Impossible. And so my dressing room, turns out, was the same dressing room, which I didn't realise until someone showed me a photo. They came into my dressing room, showed me a photo while I was sat on the couch in there. A photograph of the guy who plays Harry Potter. What's his
Daniel
name?
Radcliffe.
Yes, of course, Daniel Radcliffe. He'd done a show, I think it was only a few months before, a show where he wanders around the stage naked, which I can't believe that's a role in
Oh,
in
yeah.
a
Did he
theatre.
do
That's
Equus?
I'm not
Equus,
sure what it
wasn't
was, yeah. What a terrifying role to wander around completely butt naked on
Well, you
theatre
just
stage.
hope they clean that sofa before you
Well,
sit
that's
on
the
it.
thing. I didn't realise until someone came in, and as I was sat on that sofa, they showed me a photograph of about 2 weeks before him just sat butt naked,
Oh.
exactly where I was sat. So there we go. That brings this chat full circle. There we go. We've had naked people tonight. We've had a lot of magic talk, Harry Potter talk, And a lot of funny stories and a couple of naughty words in there as well, which are nice gems in there. So it's been a good night. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun. So people have been dying to get you on, for me to get you on for a while now. So I'm pleased you were up for it. I only messaged you this week, so I'm pleased you made time for it. So that made it great. So just before we do go, is there anything you've got coming up that people should be doing? Or first of all, everyone needs to go and make sure they follow you on Facebook. So you are tagged in this post. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll find Mandy's website and Facebook link in the description below. But is there anything else that we can do to follow you and anything on?
I'm doing lots of Zoom shows. I've got 7 this week, so I'm really lucky.
Right.
And I'm going to be training to be a wedding celebrant. So if anyone's getting married or have
There's
a baby,
going to be a lot of weddings coming up, so that's going to be
Yeah,
perfect. So if you're getting married, don't forget this.
yeah, and I will be putting magic into the ceremonies. So no, I've got nothing planned at all. I haven't.
Have you got any weddings booked for like swingers weddings or anything like that? No doubt they'll remember you from the cruise and they want you now to marry them. All different couples, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No.
Well, I'm
nothing
looking forward to seeing you once we are out of lockdown. Seeing you, no doubt, at a show at some point. And I'm interested to hear your stories in a few months once you've married some people. That sounds absolutely brilliant. Awesome. Right, we're going to end it there tonight then, folks. Thanks very much for your questions. And obviously, once again, thank you very much for Mandy. Make sure you go and follow her on Facebook with the links that are in the description. And also check out our website if you've got a company event coming up and you want her to entertain you. So, yeah. Awesome. Thank you all very much for... Say it again? Oh, yeah. Sorry for the swearing. There you go. No worries. Ladies and gents, thanks very much for joining us. We appreciate it. And next week, we've got Magical Bones. So make sure you join us again next Friday because that'll be another great one. Have a good night, guys.